Patzer for 6 minutes with officials.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, I'll just start off the top here. The Minister indicated that we are going to be making loads of money off of this loan that we gave to Telesat. So I'm just curious then, the loan was in 2021, it's now 2024. How much money has the Government of Canada made in that loan payback plan?
So our funding to date for Telesat includes a contribution under SIF, which was $85 million. It includes $600 million pre-purchase agreement, where nothing has been paid so far, and includes a recent loan at the amount of $2.14 billion.
Yeah, so in 2021 though, like so the $600 million and the $85 million, that was 2019. That's not what I asked about, and that's a contribution agreement. There's a loan for $800 million. He was saying, oh, it's at 2%, and then we're loaning it at 10%. He said that we are going to make money on that. So how much money has the Government of Canada made in the 3 years since that loan in 2021 was given out?
I'm actually happy to come back directly and provide the committee sort of all details of the financial agreement with Telesat.
Can you please table a like a month-by-month repayment plan of that loan with the committee?
We'll provide information on loan and the details and the repayments. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, so this 2021 loan, when did the negotiations or when did the conversations around this loan, when did that begin? Or sorry, the 2024 loan, sorry, my bad. The one that was just announced here, this one for, this recent one that was just announced here the other day, when did that process become initiated?
Well, we've had ongoing We've had ongoing discussions with Telesat for a while. I would say that the discussions around our financial support have been engaged for a number of years, including way back into the SIF agreements. The more fulsome negotiations around the potential loans would have been over the last several months.
So specifically on the $2.1 billion, that only started in the last couple months? Specifically,
well, we have an ongoing relationship with Telesat through a number of funding agreements. And so we've had insights into their finances for a number of years. We've had insights into sort of the relationship for a number of years. But wholesale sort of negotiations around the loans would have been over the last several months.
So you must have had formal negotiations with Telesat on the $2.1 billion, yes or no?
The department was active in discussions with Telesat to get to the loans, yes.
Okay, and when did that begin? Specific to this one, not I know there's a long-standing relationship, that's not what I'm asking about. Specific to the $2.1 billion, when did that begin?
I don't have an exact date. I can tell you it's been several months. I can come back to you if we have an exact date. But again, it's sort of an evolving discussion and relationship with a strategic company for Canada.
Okay, so can you table that information with the committee as well too?
We can provide information on our discussions and negotiations with Telesat.
Thank you very much. How many homes will be connected to internet because of these loans and these investments? How many homes?
Well, the investment is in a strategic capacity for Telesat. So the objective of the relationship with Telesat, certainly there's an element that is about connecting homes, but the primary sort of government instrument for connecting homes is around the UBF and the $2 billion investments that are being made. The objective is...
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you just because I do have limited time. There must have been a cost analysis, like a cost benefit done. We're connecting homes, we're investing this much money. What was the cost analysis benefit done on the investment for connecting people to broadband, connecting homes? What's that cost analysis benefit? Do you have that?
We have a number of analysis that was done. Obviously, in this case, the sole objective of this investment is not only to build homes, to connect homes. It is to build a strategic capacity in Canada with a Canadian company. We have other investments, including a $600 million pre-purchase agreement where no money's been paid, that will connect homes at the rate of Telesat, but no money's been dispersed out of that one.
Okay. When it comes to some guardrails that maybe would have been put in place regarding billions of dollars in loans, are there executive compensation restrictions for executives of Telesat while these loans are outstanding, just to make sure that any taxpayer money is specifically going to a deliverable rather than to an executive compensation package?
There are some of the details which can't necessarily provide because they would be consumer confidential. There are a number of covenants within any agreements, within any of our agreements, including requirements for investments to be in Canada, to remain in Canada, for the company to stay in Canada.
But executive compensation agreements, are you telling me that these executives could potentially be lining their pockets with taxpayer money? You didn't put a guardrail in place to make sure that taxpayer money is only going to go to deliverables and not to executives?
Our investments are based on the investments that have to be made by the company.
To the executives or to the deliverable?
So there are a number of guardrails within the agreement. I can come back to you on what is shareable or not based on including...
Please. Yeah, please do. I would appreciate that. Very quickly, when do you expect the Northvolt plant in Quebec to be operational?
So thank you for the question. So essentially, as communicated by the company, there's a strategic review that's being conducted by the company in Europe. The company is ensuring us that the start of production date in Canada is not going to be affected. Therefore, the start of the production date is planned for 2027.
Merci, Monsieur Patzer. So, we'll go now to Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, officials. My Liberal colleagues seem to be confused about what ownership of a company is. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. 36% of Telesat is owned by MHR Fund Management, a New York-based investment fund. Is that right? And they're voting shares.
I believe that to be correct, yes.
Okay. New York-based Gamco Asset Management and Gabrielle Funds, both in New York, combined own 21%. Is that correct? It's from the SEC filings.
I would, as I was about to note, I do think their ownership structure would be public, and so if you have those in front of you, I will.
And those are voting shares. Philosophy Capital Management of California owns 4.9%, again, according to SEC filings. So that's a total of 63% of Telesat is owned by American shareholders. Just to educate my Liberal colleagues who seem to think somehow it's owned by Canadians, it's owned by Americans. I will go on to ask you some questions, if I could, about the $2.1 billion loan structure. The minister wasn't answering my question about the interest relief. This $2.1 billion loan has interest relief in the first 5 years. They don't have to pay the interest, which right now I estimate at somewhere between 9 to 10% based on 4.75% interest on top of the overnight repo rate. That's about $225 to $230 million of interest over each of those individual years of interest relief. That's $1 billion of interest relief. What goods in kind are you getting for that interest relief?
So maybe a few points on that. And again, as I've mentioned, I'm happy to sort of provide greater detail on the Telesat deal itself and to have that provided to the committee. Telesat is a Canadian headquartered company with the bulk of its jobs within Canada. The supply chain on this is also...
I wasn't asking about that. If you could stick to the loan portion and the goods in kind question.
Sure. Structure of that deal is intended that there would be an initial portion during the deployment period where there would be repayment followed by a 4.75.
Right. So, but what are the goods in kind? I've read it. I know what it is. I've outlined it for everyone who's watching. What are the goods in kind, and how are you evaluating those goods in kind are worth $225 million a year?
I'm happy to come back with some of the details. I don't know if Benoit is able to.
Okay. Can you come back to the committee with those details and table that, please?
Happy to.
And any analysis that you've done on the goods in kind. The second part of the loan is a unique feature called sculpted amortization. For those who don't know what sculpted amortization is, the loan payments are matched to the cash flow of the company, which means if the company's cash flow is declining, the payments are declining. And you know what? The company's cash flow is declining. It's been declining for 5 years. It's down to less than $100 million of free cash flow a year. So how are you going to get that $2 billion back, plus interest, when it's attached to a declining payment on declining cash flow with a company with declining revenue?
Well, obviously the
Not with declining revenue.
so the assessment,
It's been nosediving.
obviously, in coming to negotiating and in coming to the deal that was struck, as you've mentioned, there was analysis that was done around their potential market shares, their potential sales, and the potential for the repayment. And so the loan was structured to strike an appropriate balance of risk and reward for the government. It is our assessment and our analysis, and that has been
Right, but they have no satellites up. They've only just contracted. They contracted once before in 2021 for a company called TAS to put up satellites for this. It never happened. Now they're going to contract again for it. You're betting that once those 198 satellites are up, they'll start to magically have revenue, which has been declining. That's going to take years to put those satellites up. I think it's going to take longer. I don't think you're going to get this money back. And I don't believe you've gotten the money back on the $1.4 billion that was loaned to them in 2021, have you?
As I said, the current loan supersedes the 2021 loan. Our assessment in
They compound.
our assessment and supported, we've had independent assessments done as well, is that we believe that the loan is appropriately structured for the risk being undertaken, and we believe that there's a high likelihood of full repayment.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Bilodeau.